Okay, we are live. It's Monday, and every week at this time, noon Eastern, we raise the vibration and share the positive. Every week, I invite you to join me here on YouTube Live as I share this time with you and a vibrational guest, who today is Lorilee Potvin. But before we begin, if you are the first one to show up on the feed below, you get to choose which deck affirmation focus is from. And it's either the I Am Sacred, which is the green deck, so just type in green, or orange. And that's only while we're live, and I give somebody a couple of minutes to do that. If not, I get my guests to choose. So meanwhile, what I'm going to do is light the candle and see if I can actually get it lit today without... Oh, I've got my fan going there, and it just loves to compete with me. And it's like two, I have three out. So here, third time lucky. Maybe if I take it off my desk, put it down here. Yes, you can tell it's live, can't you? So our candle is lit. We're all set for the intention. While I'm waiting to see which affirmation deck is going to be chosen by whom today, I want to share a quickie insight that my weekly reading this week is from Warrior to Warrior. Yep, some great insider info, but only if you watch it. And if you're subscribing to my YouTube channel, you know you get it sent to you every week. So nobody's on. So at this moment, Lorilee, which deck do you want?
I'm hearing from Spirit green.
Green?
For
I love it. Okay, let me just take the cards here, shuffle them. And anybody coming on now, welcome to the time we're going to spend together today with, oh, there's a card. I love it. Oh, card 33. I love it. I am sacred to the vibrational breath that all is well. And that is quite funny because that is what we're going to be having, conversations, discussions. So our conversation today is Extreme Paranormal, Catalyst for Lightworker with Lorilee Potvin. And our conversation is how living with the extreme paranormal became the catalyst for working as a light worker, energy healer, and spiritual teacher. It's going to be very interesting to say the least. So let me tell you a little bit about Lorilee. She is host of the Angel Rock simulcast, which has been, I've been honored to be a guest on it. Yes. She's also co-hosting on Tripping the Void. She handcrafts handmade jewelry. She's attuned with crystal Reiki for specific needs for both people and their pets. Resin and clay jewelry charms. She designs, creates clothing, knits. Oh gosh, you're such a clever lady. As well as all kinds of different pet accessories. Memorial pieces for pets who have crossed over the Rainbow Bridge. I love that. That is so beautiful. So Lorilee, being a guest on your show, your brand is called the Angel Rock. Yes. And that's an unusual name. So there's got to be a reason. There's no coincidences. So why did you choose that name? What was the basis behind it?
Well, the reason why is I had a different name for my business. And, with learning more and more, I worked with many different mentors, and I took a spiritual business class. And it was suggested to me that when you pick your name, including when you're working, I'm still even working on the symbol, if you will, for it. But they had suggested that you pick something that's close to you. I work closely with the angelic realm, the archangelic realm, love angels, and rock because I love crystals, but I also love rock music and skulls.
Oh, yes.
So that is why it's called the Angel Rock. Don't mind if my dog pops in.
Here's my beautiful Kahan here, which we were talking about before. So, yeah, and I've got my crystals everywhere. So I love that. So that's perfect. That's really perfect. So how does someone who's been living in a house with extreme paranormal, which I gather you have, use that experience to discover their life purpose working as a light worker? So tell me more about the paranormal and what you've experienced in your life, etc.
Okay, well, actually, I'm a registered nurse. I have my degree in nursing. And I always say I've been so blessed to be there hundreds of times at the beginning of life, working in the NICU and maternal newborn. And then before I hurt my back at work, I was working out in the community. And I've been so deeply honored with the work I did in palliative care to be there with families to help their loved ones cross over. So as nurses, I'm actually writing a book about this, sharing experiences, especially with nurses, but also first responders, but nurses in particular, I find, because we spend the majority of the time with our patients as they transition or a near-death experience, we see a lot. So I always did kind of believe in the paranormal. But the house I was living in was actually, we just moved last January. And the house I was living with, I knew, or in for years, like with it was my ex-husband's home as a child moving in. We bought it from his parents. But ever since we bought that home, things just were not going well. There was a lot of strange stuff, just little things. He's got 3 designations. He was never able to find a great job, suffering from depression. There was all kinds of things. And the children, my oldest, who's now 25, was 15 when we moved in. When he would speak, he would tell us something in my closet, mommy, something in my closet. And I ended up hurting my back in that home. I ended up having a divorce. I've even spoken with my first husband. I wonder if we even would have been divorced. Everything happens for a reason. I understand why.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that would have happened the way it did.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I had my second child who has severe autism. We just seemed to have a lot of things going on. Nothing ever seemed to go right. When we had the divorce, I am now with my current partner, Dell. I've known him my whole life. His mom's a nurse. She actually was going back for her degree when I was in university. We had the same aunt and uncle through marriage. I say we're the second generation of that aunt and uncle. Almost.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So around that time, just before probably a year and a half, things started to get really crazy in the home. I was still with my first husband at the time. And as you mentioned, I do a lot of crafts. And before, I was almost in bed for 20 years with my back. I literally thank the doctor that I had, because at least I'm able to sit up and do a few things. But what I had to do, when you mentioned all the crafting, I had to keep busy. I mean, you can only watch so much TV. But when I could get out, people around locally, I'm from Thunder Bay in Northwest Ontario, Canada. People wanted to carry my merchandise, but they didn't want any compensation for it. And at that time, the movie The Secret had just come out, and my ex-husband and I had watched it. And I mentioned this to him. I said, holy cow. I said, I can't understand this. He said, well, maybe it's the law of attraction.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, maybe. Literally, couple months fast forward, and I was friends with Dell at the time. I went to bed, and I remember this dream like it was 20 minutes ago. So it was definitely a lucid dream. Don't mind my German Shepherd. She gets very excited when I get live. Usually at the end of every show, especially with my co-host, she'll jump right up. I'm trying to keep her down.
She's probably picking up the energy as well.
It is. I believe it is. Yeah. Well, she gets excited too if anything flashes. She likes to chase it. Anyways, this dream, there was a tree in the front yard of my old home. And there was a man sitting in that tree. Get down, girl. And what had happened? I won't get too in depth, but I know what he was wearing. And I was on the ground looking up. And he said, hello, Lorilee. And he looked just like a regular man, short, black hair, very neatly trimmed black beard and goatee. And it's not friendly to say on air, but I basically said, who the are you?
Yeah.
This
is what I tell people.
Yeah, told me his name. At that time, I had finally met his gaze, which went from black, his eyes, to fire. And he said, you see that little business that you're having? He said that, and really sarcastically, just like this. And he kept saying, well, that's nothing. I can give you wealth. I can give you fame. I can give you anything you want. And all you have to do is agree to follow me. In my dream, again, not very politely, I said, no blanking way. Get the blank out. He said, oh, no. Just like that, waving his finger at me. I'm not going anywhere. And proceeded to tell me his name, spell it, tell me he was demonic. And he wasn't going anywhere. And again, I repeated, and much louder, screaming, out now. And he said, every time you see a crow or a raven, you'll know who it is. And at that time, I guess in my dream, I knew I was working with angels already. I called on Archangel Michael, and there was this brilliant flash of royal blue, silver, and white. I woke up crying in a sweat and literally shaking. And I'm not a crier. So and I mean, that was almost 15 years ago.
Wow.
And I had just before this actually, I started feeling this call from getting a tattoo, believe it or not. I even have a video I'm making, and I talk about this often. What do tattoos and videos have to do, or tattoos and angels have to do with each other? That's literally what started me on that path. Like everything looking back fell right into place when I needed. I had taken Doreen Virtue's Certified Angel Card Reader course just
Right.
before that dream. So, but long story short, after that dream, all heck broke loose,
Yeah.
basically. Mm-hmm.
So how did you deal with that see, as light workers, we deal with things in different ways. We have
Mm-hmm.
our human 24-hour
Mm-hmm.
eat, sleep, and do what we need
Yes.
to do kind of thing. And then we
Mm-hmm.
have our spiritual, which is infinite. There is no
Mm-hmm.
timeline. It just happens. So as in your human essence,
Mm-hmm.
like for the everyday person, including
Mm-hmm.
myself, because I had a similar, not as awful experience as that,
Mm-hmm.
but something that had come up, which I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I work with guides, helpers, and angels here.
Mm-hmm.
This is not from my pack or my
Mm-hmm.
tribe.
Exactly. My tribe, my posse. Yeah.
So, you know, I'm like, so how did you deal with that
Well,
in your humanness? Apart from obviously, there's a certain amount that, yes, when the fear can rise up in us, it can be very human
mm-hmm. You're
experience.
reading my mind, because I was literally thinking what I was going to from spirit here. Fear can be one of the most paralyzing
Yes.
emotions. I
Yeah.
believe it more than anything. So to me, and I've always believed this, that you know what, to get rid of fear if you want, undermine it, release it, knowledge, learning. It became a full-time job, and to me,
Yes.
knowledge is empowering. My husband, Dell, has been thrown 15 feet. We've been bitten. We've been scratched. We've been burnt. We have had other people affected. It's not ourselves. We actually shared our story on the travel channels. It's actually on Netflix, I think, and on YouTube, Paranormal Survivor. It's season 4, episode 9, I believe it's called. Of all things, demonic hauntings. But they actually filmed us for 6 hours, and we didn't know what they were going to do. And again, talk about synchronicities. We didn't speak to the psychics that commented on our episode or speak to the actors. So everything we said was true, but they're telling a story, so they made it very dramatic,
Yes,
the
of
actors.
course. Yeah. Yes.
But one of the psychics, Michelle DeRoche, commented, she's now my network, and we're actually friends, speaking about, I didn't know her from a hole in the ground before. That was pretty
Synchronicity
cool.
again.
Yes. So to deal with it, it became a full-time job, and it started
Yes.
locally. I then went to Ontario, then through Canada, then throughout the world. I was spending 8 to 12 hours a day connecting with people, speaking to people, realizing that, again, knowledge is empowering, but as well, I've always believed in a higher power. For me, that's God. I respect all people's beliefs. I
Yes.
already was working with angels and believed in them. Both my children, my sons, my oldest, I knew at a very young age. He could see auras. He can communicate with animals. He's actually quite gifted himself. And even my youngest, who has severe autism, he's 22 now. I remember taking him for energy healing at 3.5, 4, and the woman said to me, I have never encountered another human being that is so powerful through the third eye. He will not let me through. No way, no how. And he actually can communicate with animals as well. So I've always had this belief, you know, that in God and in angels. I believe that light triumphs over dark. But I also, so there were times we were afraid. But I
Right.
got to tell you that, Dell, I kept reminding our family too, we need to pull together, stick together. Love is the most important emotion out there. There is nothing
Yes.
else. Remind
The
me,
strongest emotion.
I actually have a video on YouTube. I teach people this. I'm not a stickler for rules. I like people to use what they feel will work best for them. So I guide them through it, but I call it a love shield, because we're
Yeah.
not coming from fear-based perspective. We're coming from love. And again,
Yes.
the most powerful. So even my one that has quite a few communication issues, he calls it the bubble. He still puts it up every night,
I
even
love
in a
it.
new house.
I love it.
So that's what did it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's when you were describing that, and the one thing that I sort of say to people in the work that I do is
Mm-hmm.
that we are all from one source, regardless of what
Mm-hmm.
we're here doing at the
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
So, and love is like the bridge that crosses all of those divides, and especially now in our world that, you know, I've shared a few times what the world needs now is love, sweet love. And it is true, because this is where we need to step away from our thoughts, beliefs, or whatever, and come together as humankind in energy. So with your family experiencing these kind of things, have you know, I've heard of people having things thrown around. You said Dell was thrown into the air and things like that. But how do you, like, you obviously do this for other people, and to be able to do that when you go in there, you're going to somebody, they're frightened, they've experienced whatever they've experienced. Is every scenario different?
Oh, absolutely. Just like it is with dealing with angels. But what I was going to say, I'm also a spiritual teacher and mentor like yourself. And what, you know, with being able to channel information from spirit, and we call it spirit collectively because we work with a variety of beings on our team, if you will, is that what I explain to people is, and spirit's literally given me the picture of this in a meditation, is to them, the other thing, I've never been hung up on knowing names. I know a lot of people are. And I realized very early on that over on the other side, it's about energy. We all know each other energetically. You know, when we're working with our guides, our angels, that's why when I teach people, you know, get in a quiet mode, clear your mind, ask what my guide's name is. Whatever name comes to you, accept that and trust that, because spirit, whoever you know, if you're connecting on the other side, they'll agree to it. They understand it's a human construct. But also on the other side, if you will, we all look like little pinpricks of light, right? But those of us that are aware of our gifts, because I believe everybody has these gifts, and we just need to remember them. We almost look like a little bonfire. But the thing is, it's not just the good guys that can see us, it's also the other side that shouldn't see us. So there is very few people in the light work field that I have met that have not had some kind of experience with the dark. I don't know if they think they're going to convert us, like seriously.
But again, I suppose if you think of it in our human essence, if I was to come to you and say, Lorilee, come follow me, and I'll give you everything. You just have to.
Nope.
I know, but see, people just think of it as being outside. This actually happens in our humanness. And this is why people either get caught into cults or into
they're vulnerable
voids and things like that, because they're open. They're like, you know, depending upon, like you were saying in your life at that time, you know, basically the crapola was hitting the fan. And it's like, then something went away and something good was happening. And it's like, it was almost like the dangling the carrot in front of you. Do you want more of this? We can give you more of this, but sign on the line. I love, there was a movie many years ago, and I can't remember, with Brendan Fraser in it. And he signed basically this deal with the devil, or whatever incarnation you want to call it. And it was a comedy, and, you know, and he wanted this and he wanted that, and it would turn into absolute crap because, you know, and in the end, the end of the movie was basically, it wasn't something for him. It was something for this girl that he really loved or thought he loved, and basically saying, I hope you find, and then like the spell was broken. So I get the sense of with it that when we start to want a need for ourselves, that's human and that's okay. But there has to become that conscious awareness of, you know, is this for the betterment of mankind, for myself, for my family, for whatever? before we step into anything we do. And I love that, because I think all light workers have had that sort of taste of, or introduction, or whatever you like to call it, to what the other side can be like.
You know what it is, though, Debbie, is that in general, human beings expect the boogeyman to look like the boogeyman.
Yeah,
The
they don't.
boogeyman never looks like what you think it's going to, with horns and everything else, because why would you agree to follow? Usually what'll happen, like you said, we find people that are really vulnerable, whether maybe they're suffering. We see a lot of our younger people, I'm finding, are really having a lot of issues with depression, anxiety. I believe they're actually a new breed of human, if you will. They're that sensitive. And people feel lonely, or maybe bullied, or financially, it could be anything. And even, and I hate to bring this up, but it's a topic that needs to be spoken about, is the pedophilia. Even people expect it's going to be that boogeyman on the street, not expecting the person that, and I'm not saying everybody is like that. What I'm saying,
I'm with you.
your gut.
Yeah, because I think many of us, when things have come to light, and it's funny that should be the word, when things come to light, there's shock and horror within us, and disbelief, and all
How
of those.
did I not see it?
Yeah. How could, especially the famous people, we go, okay, why didn't we see it? And I think it's because they paint such a beautiful picture of their world and all the good they're doing. And, like anything else, when things are behind closed doors and hidden, there are things that go on. And we have to be in our alertness. And that's something I love, that when you said in your dream, when this was happening, you're like, who the heck are you? And that's something, when people say to me, well, I felt somebody behind me. I'm like, okay, so did you ask who they were? No. I'm like, ask.
No, I wanted to know.
I want to know,
who are you?
And behind me.
Maybe this is being a Leo. I was so indignant that he would think I was, in my dream, that he would think I was that unintelligent that yes, I'm going to sign here because I want wealth and I want fame, and I know some stranger's going to give me that. No way in heck that was ever happening. But you know what? I have a really good friend. She's actually was on our network. She's been doing this for a long time, and she helps people. Heidi Hollis, I don't know if you know her.
No, I don't.
She's the first person who's ever coined the phrase the Hat Man or the Shadow Man, which is because we had 4 main entities in our home, actually. And she works with Jesus. She's had so many incredible experiences, including the story she will tell you about connections with Jesus. She's a really fascinating lady, and she's working to get rid of the any evil in the world right now. That is her mission. Not married, no kids. She's occupational therapist, actually, just a lovely soul. And she said what people even is happening that's breaking her heart is people are getting tricked, even like into following, and she made it as simplistic, and this was an analogy. Mind you, I did have an experience too, even at this new home. But she said you get this weird looking maybe cat or dog, and it's trying to get into your house. It really wants to come in, and your heart is like, oh my gosh, poor thing, it's probably hungry. She said it's basically the wolf in sheep's clothing coming in. You've invited it in. I had a cat show up like that after we had that conversation one day, and this cat was odd. Big orange cat. Nobody had ever seen it. And it was literally about 3 minutes, probably 1 or 2 days after we were talking about this. I was out in the front yard at night, sitting on the steps, and it was all over me, and it was clawing to get in my door. It wanted in there, no how, no way. I could barely get in my front door, sent it on its way, and never saw it again. And then I was telling Dell about it about a month and a half later. Little monster shows up that night again. And he's tried it once with Dell, and he's tried it 3 times with me. And I've got a German Shepherd. Believe me, most of the cats in the neighborhood know what I've got. You would not want to be in my house. So just weird, isn't it? We're talking about that, and it just happens to show up.
Well, and I think this is something as well. We don't realize how strong and purposeful we can be to invoke things and bring things forward. We talk about manifestation of manifesting the law of attraction, but the law of attraction covers both elements. And this year, especially out of any of the years in our history so far, is about discernment, you know, questioning. So if somebody's offering you this platter or plethora of things, what do you got to give in return? And
people don't ask that question.
No, they're like, oh, just give it to me. I've got all this, and
something, anything in life in this 3D existence on Earth. Let's face it, if it's something all about you, especially materialism, things, rather than we've been talking about love. And we're not saying, no, you can't have beautiful things or have a beautiful life. But when somebody is offering you something, we've all heard that saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah. And it's discernment of questioning your commitment. Like when I made a commitment to spirit, to the work I was going to do, you know, it's evolved over time based on what was going on in my life. Like when my son was young, it was like a case of I couldn't do all the things that I can do now. And then, you know, going through a divorce, there were times when it was just, no, this is not going to work. So, you know, changing job or moving home or moving country or all of those things. So spirit understand that and they're on this journey with us.
But they see the whole picture. We
just see the little molecules.
Like I was going to add this quickly, Debbie. What had happened, it was like my whole neighborhood was affected. Like people that one man, his daughter used to babysit, and it got to the point he'd stand on my front sidewalk and measure the grass. If it was an eighth of a centimeter over, the city was at my house nonstop. And they had gone in the backyard and cut the grass illegally. We had security cameras, and I received like a $3,000 bill for 45 minutes worth of work, which you never should have been there in the first place. We knew the city bylaws because they were always there. Long story short, I was trying to fight them, never mind going through a divorce, and I ran out of time. I was working with a pro bono legal service, but I ended up losing the house. It wasn't because I didn't pay my bills. It wasn't because I withheld property taxes. I was advised legally to do this, and that's what ended up happening. And could I have fought it more? Yes, I could have gone locally looking for financing, but I had a really good friend that practices the law of attraction. I don't know if you know her, Nori Love. She works with Augie Nost. Really great. She's also a nurse too. And I was talking to her at the time because everybody knew, people kept saying, why are you not getting out of that house? I mean, it was full of black mold. It was like everything to get out of the house.
Well, the negative was trying to give you everything there.
But you know what she said to me? She said, Laura, why don't you look at this as a gift? And I said, holy cow, the lights went on. And I went, yep. And believe me, if I had to have I guess, faith in spirit, that was the time. I didn't know where we were going to move. But instead of getting really depressed about this, January can be up to minus 55 up where I live. And it's not that far. I'm 6 hours north of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
It was the most beautiful winter we ever had to move out. We didn't have a lot of time to move out. We weren't given what we were supposed to, but we had a man that was really nice. We were kind to him and he was kind to us. He gave us another extra day. Every gift we got, I looked at and I was so grateful, including the fact that there was an occupancy rate less than, I believe, 1.4% in our city. We found the perfect place. So that's what I'm saying. Trust when we're talking about this. Because you know what? We can worry and worry. It's like sitting in a rocking chair hoping you're going to get to Toledo, sitting there rocking. It's
you're not going to get there. I wanted to share this. This came, Ida just said, she's a clairvoyant medium. Her and I work together. I awoke during the night with, in my mind's eye, I see someone tapping at my door. Then I just stopped. It was dark figure. It was disgusting long fingernail, really thick, dirty and long. So you know, I work on the basis of this way. If it feels icky to you, it's either sending you a message, get the hell out of there, or it's trying to give you a warning in some way, you know, whether that's from spirit or not. So it's you know, I've been blessed in the respect of I've only really encountered something not so nice, and this is going back a long time ago,
Mhm.
when a group of us were working with a Ouija board.
Okay.
And yeah, it was, and I'm not saying anything about Ouija boards, but
No,
at that
they're
particular
cool.
time, we had all had something to drink,
Of course. Mhm.
of course, and we were just goofing off,
Yeah.
literally.
Mhm.
But we stepped back like, okay, what's happening now? Because the thing was moving, because it in the end, we were all going, you're moving it,
Always, yeah.
thing, and of course 2 of us took our hands off, and there was just one person, and she basically had her hand above, and it was moving. I'm like, I don't like this. We've opened something here, and I want this freaking closed now, because I'm not leaving here till we get it closed. And it was a real eye to the other side. I see spirit. I'm very blessed. Be there. They've walked through me and things like that. And, it doesn't bother me. But I'm telling you, if something comes towards me and I don't know who it is, my first question is, who are you? What do you want?
Mhm.
And that
Yeah,
is
but you get to
yeah.
feel it. You get to feel it. But I've had certain mentors say, well, once you get used to the feeling of energy, it's like a little 3-year-old coming up to you with a mask and saying, boo.
Yeah.
Not always. I have to say that, because you know what? And I put it with this analogy. I'm going to back up a little bit with a Ouija board. Ouija board is not a bad thing. It's
No,
a
it isn't.
tool. But this is the
Mhm.
analogy I use, and people understand it. You've never seen a chainsaw before. Your friend tells you a chainsaw is a great thing for cutting things down, gets the job done. You want to cut your chain link fence down, but you don't ask anybody. You run over to the hardware store and you pick one up. Don't ask anybody how to use it. And for some reason, most of us don't read instructions. Somehow you get it to work.
Yeah.
But then you use it on the chain link fence, and you are absolutely shocked when it kicks back and cuts your leg off.
Yeah.
Well, darn it. You know what? Was it the chainsaw fault? No. What it is you need someone to show you how to use it properly and follow the precautions that you need around it. It's just a tool.
Yep.
That's what the problem is.
And the
So,
fact we had been drinking,
mhm.
and that was the thing. We all looked at each other and we like, and it's like,
Well, alcohol lowers our
it lowers
inhibitions.
our inhibitions. Yeah. And it was crazy because, the girlfriend had bought it and was playing with it. It was pretty, it was a good experience as far as we all backed away. We did a lot of healing work, and I don't know if that board ever came out again. It never came out in my existence, but that's okay. And I'm like you. I say to people, we don't get into a car and drive it without first taking lessons.
Even better analogy. But what I was going to say about spirit, and this goes hand in hand with the paranormal. The more I've said I don't want to work with dark things, I've always said that. I remember when I first started hanging around with Dell, and like I said, I had just taken this angel reading course with Doreen when she was doing that, Doreen Virtue at the time. And I said, I'm only doing angel cards because they're just positive. I want nothing to do with the negative. And I remember so clearly to this day, he said to me, Laura, if you're going to be doing this kind of work, you need to know both.
You need to know both sides.
I have had people contact me that are possessed. I have seen somebody, I shouldn't say possessed because it wasn't full time, but a very deep, dark attachment, like levitating on the screen. I've kind of accepted working with spirit that sometimes those of us that, and I don't say this from an ego point, but some of us that have that knowledge, I think I have that knowledge for a reason, and it's to help people get through it. We don't realize how powerful we are, yet as humans sometimes with our ego, and that's an important part of who we are. Everything we have is here for a reason. They'll say, well, it didn't feel negative to me. Honey, if that's been around since the beginning of time and you're one tiny little human, yes, your spirit, your soul is powerful, but we come in with amnesia, spiritual amnesia, if you will. You don't think that they can mask who they are? They've been around a long time doing this. Trust your gut, though. If they're promising something and there's no strings attached, or I even go back to that movie it's Ghost Rider with Nicolas Cage when he's a child.
I love that. Yes,
but he had asked the devil to save his father. His father was dying of cancer. Yeah, he saved from cancer, but his father stepped off the curb the next day and got hit by a bus. And couldn't understand. We're dealing with a deception, prince of lies, if you will. And
Yeah,
that's what it
and that
is.
was in that movie with Brendan Foster or
Oh,
Brendan Fraser.
Fraser. I'm trying to remember what one that
I
is
can't
because I
remember
think I
what it's
saw
called, but
that.
it was such a funny movie because
Mm-hmm.
it was showing you that whatever he wished for, it was
Mm-hmm.
like the fine tuning of it was never quite exactly as it should be. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a deception behind it all. And in the end, because he gave to somebody else, it broke the spell. And this is a good point because
Mm-hmm.
the one thing that I always say, there's horses for courses in
Mm-hmm.
respect of spirit. And
Yeah.
some people are great light workers, some people are great clairvoyants, some people are great at paranormal and stuff like that. So, when people come to me and say, oh, I have a ghost in the house or something like that, I'll go along and see if it's what I call a benevolent ghost.
And more than likely it is.
It is, yeah, because Chris has had some of those in the experience where it was somebody that had a past life with him, that the ghost actually in there was connected with the husband, and it was a relative, etc. And he said that's the first time I've come across that in the respect of it was like a former life of the actual person that was he was creating it, like it was the person that was alive as a former life that was.
I understand what you're saying, but
So,
for example, sorry, go ahead, honey.
Go.
No, all I was going to add was, now, say we pass very tragically, very quickly. A lot of people do not realize that they have passed. We're not seeing what they're seeing from their vantage point. Okay. But just imagine that happened to you. You go back home and you're in your house, and for some reason, nobody can see and hear you. You don't know what the heck is going on. All of a sudden, these strange people move into your house. It's like, what the heck?
Get out of here.
And then, because a lot of people see this when renovations happen. Think
Mm,
about that.
yeah.
You're there. You don't know you passed, which is even a whole other subject for another time about how we treat spirit on the other side. Do you know you're dead? How did you die? No, we don't do that. We treat them like we would like as a human being. But the thing is, what would you do to make strangers move out of your house that are tearing it apart, changing it all around? You're going to get, after a while, very frustrated. Can't call the police. They can't hear you. They can't see you. What are you going to do to try and make them leave?
Yeah. And this is what I try and say to people, that for spirit to move something, to propel something through the air, or to slam a window, that takes an immense amount of energy for them to do that. So, if they're trying to get your attention and it's something you're not liking, then call in the experts, as I always say, call in the Ghostbusters, or call in the people that can do it. And if I go and I feel that it's not a house, it just needs a blessing, then I will usually say to the person, then either go to somebody that is an expert in this field, whether it's through your church or through a paranormal group or something like that, because this is not in my sphere of knowledge.
And that's a beautiful thing, because I do the same thing. A lot of people, and I'm not discounting anybody's work, but if they tell you they can get rid of everything and they know how to do it, I'm sorry, but run. Because it's just like with illness, for example. You go see maybe your family GP, but if it's something that requires a specialist, you call them in. We can't be specialists at everything, like you said. Some of us are natural born painters, musicians, whatever it may be, and that's okay. We've got so many different people to work together, to complement. And the one thing I do want people to realize is, yes, you may need to call somebody in. Yeah, a good medium. Debbie's fantastic at doing this herself. She's amazing. She's so gifted. I tell everybody about this all the time. But you know what is, yes, you might have to call somebody in, but human beings forget how powerful you really are. Okay. This is, if you will, very disrespectful, but true. We're in a meat suit. We go on forever and ever. Your husband, what he does for work, what you do for work, what I do for work. And I believe, and this really makes a lot of sense to me. We're all here by accident, but on purpose, for a reason here. But I believe it is one of the more difficult places to come, because we come in with spiritual amnesia. We come in these, if you want to call it fragile, yet amazing, miraculous bodies. They're slow, they're cumbersome compared to how we can move in spirit. But we have so much power and potential, including we all have dominion. So you
Yeah.
don't need to get angry. Angry doesn't work. That feeds
Nope.
them. Anything, and that's how I explained it to my son. He only eats 6 foods with the autism. So I said, you know how you can't stand, say, broccoli? You've never had it, the smell of it, right? I said, well, when you get angry, I said, that's like your chicken nuggets and French fries to what's bad here. But when you send them love, like how you love mommy and whoever, so you can even explain this to small children, because children and babies can see spirit and pets better than we
Mm.
can. It's very easy to explain. And so when you get angry or depressed or anything like that, that's always like food to them.
Yeah.
Love is the most important,
Oh.
but stand your ground, be firm,
Mhm.
and then think of who you love in your heart while you're doing it. Believe me,
Mm.
it will be like, I don't know, sending them to the electric chair, if you will, like to get
Yeah.
them away. Call on your guides, your angels. Archangel Michael
Mhm.
can be in a gazillion different places at once. He
And
will
that's
be
what I
there in a
tell
heartbeat.
people. I
Yep.
had somebody say, but I get the information from Archangel Michael. I said, yes, you and probably a million other people.
Mm-hmm.
And the person was
Mm-hmm.
so upset. And I didn't mean it to discredit them in any
Mm-hmm.
way, but, people sort of sometimes place themselves on that pedestal of,
Yeah.
and I'm like, come on. They're there to share this information. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
take it that my guides and helpers are only just helping me, and that they're
Exactly.
my team.
It's
I
our
don't have that.
human brain to really comprehend that there's no space, there's no
Yes,
time on the other side, and the immenseness of where, like even the past, present, and
yeah,
future. I mean, I even talk about timelines,
yeah,
and it just it
yeah,
boggles my mind when you really get deep into it, but it's true. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, out of the 3 books that you're in the process of
Mm-hmm.
writing, um, how can the book about your experiences help others
Mm-hmm.
going through paranormal activity? So, tell us a little bit more about that book.
So, what I'm writing about is our experience. I'm not sure if we're going to include some of the pictures we've released to the public or not. But what I'm hoping by sharing our experiences, sharing maybe where we didn't do the right thing, or including reaching out for help, how to know the difference.
Mm,
Again, just every experience we're sharing, but
yeah,
sharing some suggestions from our own experience about
I
what
love
we
that.
did that helped, that
Mm,
may help you, who you may want to seek out. And again, just this conversation we just had 5 minutes ago. Yes, you may call in, say, a psychic medium, but you
mm,
may need to be dealing with somebody that's got some experience with darker things, if that's what it is.
mhm,
How to
mm,
tell the difference, how to know, like all these things we've talked about. Almost like
yeah,
a how to. It was the book I was
I
looking
love it.
for when I went
Yes,
into this, and I was like, well, what do I do? Where do I go? Every
yeah.
time I reach out, somebody, we couldn't get anybody to come to our house. And you know why? I did talk to you years ago on Jason's
Yeah.
show,
All
and
right.
you had given me some advice, but the other part
Oh,
that came through to me was the reason why, I think, never mind that the dark side thought they were stopping us from achieving the help that we needed. I think it needed to come from within, to
yes.
recognize who we are. I'm doing what I'm doing now because of that experience. And I'm grateful for it.
Mm,
I wouldn't wish it on a blade of grass,
no.
but that was where I am now.
Yeah. And this is where I say there's no coincidences, everything's
Yeah.
synchronicity.
Mm-hmm.
And did it start who is it? I can't remember the famous one that said it started 500 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
because that is where everything, did it start last week? Did it
Mm-hmm.
start when I was born? No, it started before we were even here.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
on your YouTube channel,
Mm-hmm.
you've included some teaching techniques such as
Mm-hmm.
the love shield,
Mm-hmm.
healing with color and how to work with it, and why positivity and gratitude are a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Using the song lyrics from one of your favorite bands.
Favorite rock, one of my favorite rock bands.
So how do you
Hailstorm.
feel these videos will help others that are looking for guidance as light
Mm-hmm.
workers, healers, as well as
Everyday
to
people that aren't even
everyday
following this
people?
path. Okay, so what
Right.
I mentioned earlier was I'm not a real strict stickler for rules. The other thing I do suggest to people as well is there's a video in there called Grounding and Gritting. There's a lot more. I have so much to upload. Like I said, we were talking before the show. I wish
Yeah.
we had like 48 hours and a 28-hour or 24-hour day.
Yeah.
But how I think they can help people is I walk you through a situation, for example, working with color. So I teach you how to feel energy in the video. You can see me doing it, walk you through it. And then I get you to imagine different colors. And I want you as a viewer, you can write it down. How does it feel to you? Does it bring back any memories using all your different senses? Because it's more important to me, even with the love shield. Like, for example, my oldest, I never knew this till he got older. But when I walk you through that, I don't tell you, now place a bubble around yourself and it must be gold light. No, I want you to pick the color that you resonate with, that you love, that makes you feel incredible. Heck, I use a rainbow half the time because I can't decide. You can do whatever you want.
You and I don't do very well together because
Yes,
she does all this
know. That's why we always
dimensional
get
healing.
along so well. And then I say, pick something that you can imagine that maybe, and I teach you how to connect with that love, how to connect if you want with, I call her Gaia. Some people call her Mother Nature, center of the earth, whatever it is for you, as well as with spirit through our chakras, our crown chakra. And then, like I said, with my oldest, he finally revealed to me, he's always imagined angel wings covering him, shielding him. And that's what works for him. My youngest uses a bubble. Other people have used whatever some people can use a blanket, whatever it is that you imagine, because there's nothing worse. And I'm not discrediting anybody, but when you get this long list of instructions of what you must do, and you're going, what did she tell me or he tell me? What color was that? Like, okay, what shape? What? No, you craft that yourself. So when you need that, you remember it.
Yes.
And you don't have to remember what I said. I'm just guiding you from what I'm getting from spirit. So that's how they help people.
I love that, because it's the same with when I use my pendulum, because people say, oh, I've got a list here. I said, you know what, just do this. Hold it up. Ask yourself a question, a yes question. Ask yourself a no question. Whichever way that pendulum goes. And they're like, but that's not how I was taught. And I said, but what feels comfortable?
I tell people, guess what? Those rules are coming from people. Same as with, I have an exercise in my group in the Angel Rocker Tribe on Facebook, and I filmed a video. I have a little, really cute, I think it's a little, I love unicorns and fairies too. That can go on and on. So it's a little pouch, and I put an item in there, and I specifically chose an item that with using your 5 senses, you might be able to pick up on something. And I'm reading a lot of people's comments. I said, there really isn't a right or wrong answer. But I want people to start, we all have this.
Connecting.
No, even from spirit. Like people say, I'm not going to hear my spirit guides' voices. Guess what? When you've been sitting alone at night, you're really, really worried. You've got this problem. You don't know how you're going to solve it. You're quiet. All of a sudden, a stroke of genius comes through in your voice, that inner voice. More than likely, if it's meant in love, meant for something positive for you, for your highest good, that's usually your guides. It is. Some people hear different voices, and as we evolve, different things happen. But in the beginning, it's learning to trust, because people say, oh, I think that was my imagination. Oh, I must have been making it up.
Well, this is where I say to people when they're trying to connect with spirit is to, because they're like, well, do you think it was my mum came through? And I said, what did you sense? No, but do you think it was mom? And I'm like, so I say to people, when you hear that voice or you get that connection, ask, who is this? Like what in your mind, you don't even have to ask it out loud. What do you sense? Who do you sense that's coming from? And then build on that. Because it's like everything I say to people, there's no easy button. You can't just hit the button and automatically it happens. It's like
a muscle. It's like a muscle. You have to practice. I just got a message from somebody recently, and they do ITC work, and they've gotten some really beautiful messages. And they're having a hard time. Somebody that was like a mother to them had passed away recently. And the message that came through is, we need to work on your light. And they wanted to know what this meant. And so I suggested a few things, knowing them the way I do. They already knew. once they started typing, and I said that you already know, you're
Yeah.
already in connection with it. Maybe you just needed a little confirmation, but you knew.
Mhm.
Who knows us better than ourselves? And our
Yes.
guides,
Cool.
angels on the other side. Yeah.
So anything else you want to share with us, Lorilee, before we bring this
Mhm.
into a close?
I want to thank you, first of all, for having me. Always goes by too quick with you. I could talk with you
I
for hours.
know. We'll have to
Uh,
pick up this conversation again. I'm
yes.
quite sure of that. So,
Uh,
yeah.
Oh, God, I was just going to say, so I have my show tonight, The Angel Rocket's moving to a new
Yes.
time. It's on United Public Radio. I think we're going to broadcast. It's on WW. I think you've got the links.
Yeah, I think
UPRN
it's
Talk
below
Radio.
the feed,
Yeah.
and we'll double check that afterwards.
And I always put up a banner everywhere. Social media platforms, I'm on everything. So
Mm.
tonight I'm actually having a paranormal guest who's a new host on our network, and he's got some incredible pictures and
Wow.
experiences. I'm going to be having Debbie on again soon. We need to connect and ask about
I know
that.
we need to set another date.
I have the Tripping the Void, which is on Tuesday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central. That's with my bestie. I call her my PIC, or partner in crime, Seraphine Hurley. We come from
I like
opposite.
it.
Well, we come
See,
from
Ida,
opposite ends.
we got a new term, Ida. Partner in crime. I like
Yes,
it.
I call her PIC. You're more than well. I didn't make it up, but I call her my PIC. She is an occult historian. She collects haunted items. She is a paranormal researcher. She's very gifted as a psychic and medium. She doesn't tell people, but she comes from a lot darker background. I come from the Lightworker. We had 15 seconds to meet before going on air years ago, and we're best friends. And she'll always say
Oh,
she learns from me, I learned from her.
of
We work a
course.
lot together on a
Yeah.
lot of paranormal stuff. Two groups, like I said, in Facebook. I have one for all about the paranormal, Paranormal University, it's called, on Facebook, and the Angel Rocker Tribe for anything light worker, esoteric, law of attraction, power, positivity. I think that's everything. Yeah, I think. Oh, and
Okay.
if you ever want to reach out to me, because I do
Yeah.
healing work
Yes.
with the crystal Reiki, including balancing your chakras, healing your aura, all kinds of things. You don't need to be in front of me. You can do it distance-wise. Also, what do I want to say? Psychic medium readings. I also do Akashic records. I'm taking my advanced level right now. I think and I also do mentoring, or say Halloween's coming up. I'm going to remind people.
Of course. Yeah.
I do parties
Time
online.
of
We haven't done
spooks
one
and
yet.
spirit.
I know, that's favorite time of the year. Thank you
I
so
love
much
it.
for having me.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today. So anyone that wants to connect with Lorilee, her information's in the feed under the video here, so you can do that. I invite everybody to join me next Monday at noon Eastern, where I have another guest and we share the positive and raise the vibration. So here's some upcoming guests. On the 21st of September, I have Jackie Simmons, who created the Advocates Training Program, and she co-founded Suicide Prevention Movement.
I love it.
And yeah, so the title of our conversation is Tough, but We Have to Talk, which I think is very appropriate at the moment. September the 28th, I have Gina Benston from AKA Parafox, who's joining me for Knock Knock, Who's There? So again, this is going to be a fun title. October the 5th, Ida Keatley, who you've just seen on the feed here. She's a British medium and healer, and she's joining me for Wakey Wakey, Signs of Spiritual Awakening. And we're going to do it one step at a time. So there'll be questions and answers. October the 16th, I have Karen Holton, who's a friend of yours with Quantum Health Transformation. And that's going to be our topic of conversation. Let me just see. And I think that's about everybody up to there. We're just going into October. So a quick reminder, if you, I post something every day on YouTube. Something positive. So if you're not
I'm grateful for your posts. I'm grateful, especially your real estate posts with the humor. Oh my gosh.
Oh yes, and I'm on Facebook and all those other places. But yeah, click, if you're not subscribing on YouTube, click the button below. You know where it is. It's down here, a little button, and then make sure the little bell is vibrating, because that way you'll get the information coming to your inbox. So again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lorilee. It's been fun.
You. I know. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Have a vibration. Embracing your true vibrational essence.
Much love and light. Bye. Bye-bye.